And thank you everyone for having me and for giving me this opportunity to come spend some time with all of you again. I was just seeing on Google Photos because they do a thing that it'll tell you like today, last year, or today, 4 years ago. And it showed me a montage of all the photographs I took whilst in Texas with all of you. And it really brought a smile to my heart. That was a very special trip and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And to get to know all of you and spend some time in your center and in satsang together was really a treat. So I hope that is no idle threat, Supriya, and I hope we can make that happen sometime.
Yeah, let me interrupt right here only to say, let's open cameras. Doggone it. We don't need Keshava just to see names. So let's see. We're going to put that security on. Yes, you can now go ahead and open your cameras.
Hey, Mark and Maitri, good to see you guys. I thought you'd be there.
They're in New Mexico. That's
Okay,
Sonia in Houston,
excellent.
and we have
Hi,
many
Keshava.
others. Okay,
Nice to
take it
see you
away.
again. Excellent. Wonderful. Well, I wanted to start with two pieces of music together, and but this is going to be a sing along because those are more fun, especially over Zoom, because it's a little hard to give a concert over Zoom, but we can all sing together, and that way we can take to heart the motto. Because as many of you may know, I've been helping teach at the Living Wisdom High School here in Palo Alto for the last year and a half, which has been a real delight and a great blessing and a source of an enormous amount of grace in my life, and dare I say, into the lives of the students as well. But I've been teaching them to sing, and we've become very fond of chanting together and of singing Swami Kriyananda's music. And our school motto when it comes to singing is do it poorly and proudly. Because many of them aren't trained musicians from a young age. Some of them are. And so, but many of them don't know how to sing yet. We're teaching them and they're making wonderful strides. But as I tell them, you can't improve if you don't put out good energy. And so our motto, poor and proud, is become a calling card for chanting now for me, because God doesn't listen to the pitch or to your placement or to how wonderful your vibrato is, but rather he listens to how sincere your heart is. So let's take this children's song of Swamiji. And although it is written for children, in a way, we're all children before the one Father, Mother, God. And I found this song to be much more than just a simple melody, but I found it to be a dear companion and a guide to teach me how to live every day. And it's one of the melodies that very frequently springs into my consciousness in the morning when I'm doing simple things like brushing my teeth and preparing for another day out in service to God and Guru. So I've posted the lyrics in our Zoom chat together so you can see them there. And it's a simple prayer. And you'll notice that the first verse is asking for guidance and blessings on yourself. And then the second verse, it expands that prayer to include in it the welfare of others. And this simple song teaches us one of the great um, blueprints for how to be spiritually successful. Like Yogananda said, give me thyself that I may give thee to all. And so, imbued in this simple, beautiful melody is that eternal divine truth for how to be a prodigal son, for how to turn back and start our journey homewards again by asking for help and simultaneously asking for the grace to be able to share with others. For as we give, so we also receive. So, we'll sing this a couple of times through. Oh, I'm going to turn on the original sound here. Ka-chow. So we'll sing this a couple times through so you get a feel for it, and then please jump on in with me. It's a delightful melody, and my great hope is that it gets stuck in your mind like an earworm. So here we go. Guide me, Lord, throughout this day, in all I do, in all I say. Tell me when I go astray, hold me in thy light. Help me see that happiness comes not with wanting more but less. Teach me all my friends friends to bless, hold them in thy light. Guide me, Lord, throughout this day, in all I do, in all I say. Tell me when I go astray, hold me in thy light. Help me see that happiness comes not with wanting more but less. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. Now sing with me if you haven't. Guide me, Lord, throughout this day, in all I do, in all I say. Tell me when I go astray, hold me in thy light. Help me see that happiness comes not with wanting more but less. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. Teach me all my friends to bless, hold them in thy light. And just take a moment and close our eyes and feel the sweet sincerity of that prayer, and feel the effect that it has on our own hearts. So many of the troubles of our lives would be simply melted away if we had this prayer constantly playing in our hearts. Now, I'd like to do one more chant together before I share a little bit on the topic for today. And it's one of the chants of Swamiji's, and it's entitled, I'm Determined No More to Play. The lyrics are simple. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. And let's take this as being determined no more to play with delusion, to play with that which brings us suffering, to play with all those wrong attitudes and habits, but rather to be determined to go within and to find our happiness in our own spines, to find our way home. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more to want to play. I'm determined no more to play. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more. I'm determined no more to play. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you for singing with me. I peeked a little bit and I could see your mouths moving, so well done. Um, so our topic for this week, first off, it was really lovely to get to meditate with all of you for that 30 minutes and to chant together. It was very sweet. I actually could really feel your vibrations even from afar. But this topic of the prodigal son, as I was meditating and preparing upon it, I was very touched to consider that. Um, Actually, I'm going to turn off my original sound here. There we go. I was very touched to consider that, as it says in the Hermetic doctrine, as above, so below, that these spiritual principles we should be able to perceive them even in the worldly sense, even um, in human affairs as well as in divine affairs. And of course, in the Bible, Jesus tells this parable saying that there were two sons, and one asked for his inheritance, which of course was symbolic of the tremendous power and Kundalini energy of the soul. And he took that inheritance and he wandered into the world and he squandered it in, material desires and in wrong living. And after he had squandered all of his inheritance, and he realized that even his father treated the pigs better than he was being treated, that he realized he would rather be a servant in his father's home than to be such an outcast in this cold and bitter world. And so he turned and began making the long journey home again. And of course, that's symbolic of all of us. And it's better to be a servant in the house of God than it is to be an outcast in this material world. And so he began walking that long, long journey home again. And now, of course, the parable skips forward, one, two, skip a few, 99, 100 million lifetimes later. And the soul finds himself once again coming to his father's kingdom, cosmic consciousness. And it's just so touching and eternally inspiring to remember the father's response that when the father sees his son, he goes running to him. That even enough right there will almost bring tears to my eyes. The father goes running to meet his son as soon as he sees him and takes off his ring. Give him a ring for his finger and a cloak for his back and sandals for his feet, and take out the fatted calf and slaughter it so we may celebrate. Now, of course, the fatted calf, for many of us, that might not necessarily seem like such a great party, but let's remember, as Devarshi said once in a Sunday service, that that's really symbolic, of course, of cosmic bliss, of an unending happiness. And so the father, upon seeing his son, is giving him everything that he has. And the son, of course, as we know, is flabbergasted and says, "But I have squandered everything that you gave me. How can you not be upset with me?" And the father's response, "My son was dead, and he is born again. He is resurrected. He has come back to me," is so eternally touching. And for us, the devotee, sometimes we get stuck on asking the question, well, how did I fall in the first place? And why did God create delusion? And as Swami points out, this is a purely academic question. And frankly, it has no bearing on us. The fact is, we did fall, we did make mistakes, we are suffering, and we want to go home again. And just like that prodigal son, we ought to remember that no matter how many atrocities we've committed, no matter how many crimes, how many sins we've accrued, the Father will always take us back. Actually, as a point of interest as an aside, as my work and part of my work in the high school has been teaching world history. So I've been learning a lot about some of the most famous figures in world history. And I'm struck by, for example, the life of Alexander the Great, whose mighty will and military accomplishments still echo through the halls of time and space 2,500 years after his death. And yet, upon further examination of his life, I shudder to think of what sort of karma his soul accrued for himself during that incarnation. But then, more to the point, it actually tenderizes my heart to realize that even one who killed so many and who was responsible for so much evil in the world. Even he, God will never turn aside, and that even he, the Guru, loves equally. And frankly, also, I'm um, sobered to remember that, as Swami put it, the only reason you yourself are not drawn towards a particular thing is probably because you've done it before and realized that it doesn't work. And that's kind of a humbling thing to think about, that maybe all of us have been world-shaking tyrants and have realized that it does not bring us happiness. And perhaps not so great a tyrant, as that requires tremendous energy indeed. But we've all slipped upon the same banana peels, metaphorically, and are now trying to find the way home. But at the beginning, I mentioned that you can see these truths reflected in our human lives as well as in the divine sense. And this is why Christ uses the parable, because in telling us that this is your son and that the father is always happy to see his son return, we have a glimmer of human love, which we can relate to. That, of course, a father will never turn away his son. And it's of course, just a touching thing to remember. I myself once, when I was a young man, just about 19 or 20 years old, and was trying to be fiercely independent, trying being perhaps the operative word. And I had been living out of the home for about 3 years in Los Angeles and pursuing a career in performing arts. And then I suppose it was a little bit later than that. So I had just left the entertainment industry, and for a span of about 6 months, I was completely unemployed formally, and I spent all of my time volunteering at Ananda, but I didn't have any income, and I was subsiding on my savings alone from a few lucky breaks as a stuntman in the stunt industry, and my savings was growing alarmingly thin. And I took a little bit of inspiration from um, Master and Swamiji, and I decided to myself that I wasn't going to tell anyone that I was running low on money, but I would just pray to God. And I said, God, you are my father, and you must take care of me, and you know my needs, and you have to provide for me. And I didn't tell anyone that I was running low on that money. And then, as it happens, I had already paid for a vacation with my family to Iceland. And so I went to Iceland. And when I was there was a little bit of a mix up at the very end about some coordinations of stangs and airplanes and things like that. And as it happened, the rest of my family left a day before I did. And they all left, and I had to book a final hotel, and then I had to book a bus to the airport. And I checked my bank account, and I had about 15 US dollars left. And I was really kind of in a bind because I knew, of course, if I just told my family, they would, of course, take care of me. Um, but I was playing this game with God, that I was trying to test my faith in God's ability to take care of me, sort of akin to Yogananda's experience in Autobiography of a Yogi of two penniless boys in Brindaban. And I wanted to see, would it really work? And I also wanted to see, was I strong enough in my own will to adhere to a, a task which I had set myself out to do. Now, I also want to preface this by saying I was very young, I was responsible for no one. And so this is not something that I would recommend most people do. Of course, be practical in your idealism. But what was very interesting was I was extremely anxious. My faith was not yet strong enough to be able to accomplish this task with an open heart, but at least I had the willpower to try. But what was very tender was the day that my family was leaving and I was to stay behind in Iceland for one more day. Um, that the night before they all left, I was walking through Reykjavik with my family, and without any preamble or any questions or any thought at all, my father walked up to me and he pressed about $200 in cash into my hands. And I said, "What's this for?" And he said, "Just because I love you." And I started to cry there in Reykjavik because I was so touched that that was my heavenly father taking care of me through my material father, through my earthly father, and that my prayer had been heard, and it was just coming to me through a natural channel, through my own earthly family. But what was very sweet in a human sense, of course, was when I returned home, I wrote my father and told him that, what the situation I had been in was, and that I was playing a game with God, and that I was really grateful for him to step in on behalf of the divine to help me. And my dad wrote me back in this little email, and all he said was very touching, but very sweet. He said, Keshava, you'll always be my son. And that really speaks to what our relationship with God is in a way, because how can we love except for that God planted love in our hearts? How can we love save for that it's his love flowing through us? And if an earthly father can love their son in such a way, surely our infinite Father loves us so much more than that. And so, just in a same way that a son or a daughter might have perfect faith in the love of their parent, so we also should approach our Heavenly Father in this way, with that confidence that I'll always be your son, no matter how far away I get from you. As Yogananda's beautiful chant says, I may go far, farther than the stars, but I will be thine always. It doesn't matter how much of a mistake I make of my life. You can't change the fact that I'm your son. And you'll have to help me when I come crying for it. Now, another example that I'd like to share. Yes, please put them if you have any questions into the chat. Just another story that I'd like to share is that, working in the high school here in Palo Alto has been a series of really, it feels as if unbroken miracles are occurring at the school. It's an incredibly blessed experience right now. And there's this wonderful admixture of playfulness and joy and learning, but also deep, profound spiritual aspiration that is growing in the community of high school students. But what's really tender is I find myself, much like my own father, suddenly becoming an instrument of love that's greater than my own. Because there are some of our children who come to us who are world weary beyond their years. And all I can say is they must have suffered greatly in past lives. And they've come into this world and they suffered a lot, very young. And I would like to think that maybe it's that their souls are tired of suffering. So they want to suffer so badly in the beginning that they are desperate enough to find a true way out. And in that respect, suffering actually plays a wonderful role in all of our lives spiritually. Because eventually we suffer enough that we cry out to the Lord, enough, you must show me a way out. And I think some of the children in our high school fall under this sort of category of soul, that they have suffered intensely, many of them, some of them. And what's very interesting is we have some students coming to us, like I mentioned, who really know what grief is. They know what pain is, and they know what despair means. And some of them have come to us from very dark times and with many scars upon their hearts. And what's interesting is that many of them have perceived themselves at first as being broken, or as being flawed, or as being some imperfect version of what a human ought to be. And what's very interesting is, in a number of cases, the very moment I first met these students and I looked in their eyes, I knew they were one of ours. And more to the point, in a number of occasions of these students, and they came in and I looked in their eyes, I knew that they were one of ours and that we could help them and that I would do whatever it took to help them and that I was completely committed to the task of giving them everything that I could, no matter what it required of me. And it's a remarkable thing. I've never quite felt like that before, but I was remarking with my great friend and co-teacher there, Hazimak, after one such student came in. We met them for the first time. We met them for 10 minutes, and the student walked out, the potential student. This was before they came to our school. They did a few weeks later. And I turned to my co-teacher and I said, I don't know why, but I feel an intense and instant sense of loyalty for that student. I feel that I would do whatever it took to help them. And he looked at me and he said, I feel it too. And it's been marvelous now. It's been some time, and these students are flourishing and they're realizing a happiness within themselves that they didn't previously know existed. And they're becoming not just healed of old wounds, but they're becoming shining souls. They're really finding joy, inner joy, and they're finding and cultivating a sincere desire for truth, for divine love, for bliss. And I look at them, and it's easy to see how karmically the little suffering or the great suffering that they underwent through those handful of years, which drove them to the point of desperately seeking another solution for life, has led them to a completely new way of life, which might very well define the rest of their incarnation. And I look at them and I'm beginning to realize there was a particular moment with one of these students that, again, one of my co-teachers and I shared. My co-teacher came to me and he said, I think that student's going to be all right now. I don't think they're going to slip and fall into that again. And I agreed because there was a significant enough change. And frankly, these people now cling desperately to truth more than they ever had others might because they know what it is to grieve. And so all I mean to say by this is if my little human heart can be so moved at the plight of a 16-year-old and can be so committed to their good, imagine how committed the Guru is for each one of us. He who has been our teacher through countless incarnations, through thousands of years, who has watched us and wept with us and celebrated with us through every single one of our life's experiences. Imagine how great that love is. Bottomless indeed. And this is the promise of the scriptures. That's what the topic is for today, the promise of the scriptures. And the promise of the scriptures is that God loves you. God loves you more than you could ever know, and that God will always take you again. And that, as Swami Kriyananda so beautifully wrote in the oratorio, one of my favorite lines from his whole body of music is this simple phrase, He can redeem you from every evil. Friend, only think of him. Walk by his side. And so let's remember that each of us are prodigal sons. And if we would come back home to our inheritance of cosmic bliss, that's all we need do. But friend, think of him. Walk by his side. That means take God with you in every circumstance. Share with God your successes and your failures, your hopes, your aspirations, your fears, your anxieties, and your griefs and your pains. And then it means to walk with him and to take him through the myriad experiences of your own life, yes, but it then means to allow him to guide you and to ask him to walk with you home again. And to begin, all we need to do is think of him. Yogananda said, how can I help you when you tie my hands? But every time we think of him with sincerity, we are untying his hands and we're asking for his help. And surely, just as a father will never abandon their son, just as a teacher will endeavor resolutely to help their student, we can surely be confident that the Master will never, never let us down, and that we will one day come home to our one Father, Mother God, and celebrate with the fatted calf of divine cosmic bliss. So I let this be a reminder always of hope. And with that hope in our hearts, let's offer ourselves more completely to God this week. So if you guys have any questions or thoughts at all, I'd love to discuss them together.
So, friends, you have the capability to open your mics now and pose a question or a comment to Keshava. You can also put it in the chat if you prefer. Oh,
Yeah, I
Lindy.
would like.
Linda's in a
Sorry.
pink city. I just have to say that. I don't know what's going on. She's
He's in
all,
an astral world.
that's beautiful. Go ahead, Sonia.
Hi, I have many questions, but I'm gonna try to put all my questions in one. It's about behavior issues. I am working as a substitute teacher now in a high school, public high school in Sugarland. It's a very good, it's a kind of wealthy neighborhood. A lot of Asian and in Indian students, but I struggle with behavior issues every other day. And I would like to ask you, Keshava, any advice how to react in a proper way because not always I find, you know, the right way.
Yeah,
Anyways, this week, yeah, a 16, 17 years old girl. Well, we were in class. I gave them an assignment in English, and she didn't want to do the assignment. Okay, I, she said, well, I finished. I said, okay, can you show it to me? And I think she is not used to someone to face her, you know? And she was, no, I don't want to show you. I said, okay, do another subject, but don't use your phone, no? They are so insanely attached to this device that I don't know. We really have to do something else.
yeah,
Uh, anyways, and she was escalating, in the behavior. She was escalating until the point that she said, why don't you go to your desk? You're an asshole. You're an asshole, you know? Then I said, okay, you're done with me. I called the security. The security took her out of the class, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
Another issue I had this week with a boy, very,
Well,
like,
Sonia, let me jump in here
yeah,
real quick because I think you've
sure.
said a lot that's really worth of addressing here, and I think there's some really fun conversation we can have.
Mm-hmm,
So, first off, I'm sure you've read Education for Life,
mm-hmm.
and that's just such a
Yes, I
hallmark
have
book
it.
on how
Yeah.
to work with this. But the other book that you really could consider taking a look at is The Art of Supportive Leadership, because classroom
Mm-hmm,
behavior, it really comes down to it's really a great battleground for positive leadership. And
mm-hmm,
I mean, I really sympathize. It's an interesting thing trying to learn how to motivate the right behavior given who you're actually dealing with. And that every student will be motivated in a different way based on their own consciousness. And so
mm-hmm.
a real sincere prayer that I always take as a teacher is, God, please, please teach me how to relate
Yeah,
appropriately to my
yeah,
students so I
yeah.
can I can help
Mm-hmm,
encourage them towards their highest potential. And what
mm-hmm,
I find really interesting is there one of the first things that is essential in building a functional relationship is just establishing a flow of energy. And in
mm-hmm,
Bharat's flow learning exercises, he calls this that first thing we need to do is awaken enthusiasm. And that
mm-hmm,
once we have awakened enthusiasm, it's easier to concentrate and pull that into a particular focus of where it is that we're trying to take them. And
mm-hmm.
so, it's interesting that sometimes with children who are rambunctious or resistant, I'll just try and flip the tables on them. And
Mm-hmm.
I try and find something that they can say yes to. And then
Mm-hmm.
once they can begin saying yes to me, then I'll start working towards what the actual goal is. And of course, you have to work with much different sort of children than I do, generally speaking. But I find games, I mean, even simple things like, I'll flip my students' expectations as frequently as I can. That, if I say, "Can you give me the paper?" and they say no, I say, "Well, can you beat me in a game of rock, paper, scissors?" And like they're so caught off guard by that we kind of giggle
Mm-hmm.
and then we move forward. But, I think and then learning to, sort of pick and choose the battles. Another suggestion I have here, which is one that I've been really trying to work on in my own classroom etiquette, is to really capitalize and give the most energy to those who can be most in tune with you. So try and
Mm-hmm.
identify those students who are
Yeah.
naturally willing and who are cooperative, who are high energy,
Mm-hmm.
and give them a lot of your magnetism and your time. And then through them, try and uplift the rest of the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been how
Mm-hmm.
we've been transforming our school, is sort of really through transference of magnetism in that respect. So, but yeah, you're really, God bless you. You are doing the hard work here. And,
Yeah.
I think maybe one of the best things you can continually do is just
Mm-hmm.
continue to pray and make it a resolution to never let them take away your inner peace. And see if you can always find a way to respond with freedom in your heart and with inwardly blessing them, even if they call you atrocious things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
frankly, you could even smile back at a time like that and say, you know what, I may be. And if so, I'm really sorry about that. But as it stands, we're stuck together, so we might as well make the best out of it, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I do this sometimes, like, I'm trying to see what student is gonna follow my energy, or which one am I gonna be in tune with. Because, for example, this week I had another issue, but I like the way I responded back. He's a very smart guy, and he was like talking loud, and he said, he said to me, "I'm gonna teach you manners." And I said right away, I even didn't think. I had no filter. I said, "I'm sorry, you're not gonna teach me manners. We are gonna learn from each other." And he stopped. He stopped talking.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm gonna
good.
continue asking for guidance. Thank you,
Yes,
Keshava.
this is a good way. Yes. Teaching is a great way to constantly be humbled before God,
Hmm.
because it's a constant reminder that we are inadequate and that we are not perfect. So
Hmm.
the only thing we can do then is say, yeah, so what? And I love God, so
And
cool.
learn also.
Yeah,
We as
yeah,
teachers, we learn every day. Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you so much.
I'm just going to toss in there, and because I'm not a teacher in that way in the
Mhm.
public schools, but I think I was applying what you were saying, Sonia, to the same thing of everyday life. It can be with a neighbor, it can be with a stranger in a grocery store who doesn't like the way you look, or you would look at them
Mhm.
even if you smile. I had somebody say, "What are you smiling at?" And I just said, "Well, I just feel happy." I didn't want to make it personal, but again, we can apply these things to
Mhm.
everyday occurrences. That's what I find.
Mhm.
And praying, praying, praying. And I've always used post-it notes and photographs. I have pictures of the masters everywhere, in the car, all around me, in my house,
Mhm.
uh, because I need reminders. And that's the only way I can. And then it becomes a good habit to think of
Mhm.
Master, to talk with Master. And anyway, I love it.
Mhm.
So did you happen to see in the chat? It's been said, can you speak to the astrology of these days? I think we know what that
Hmm,
means.
that's an interesting question. Um, as it happens, actually, I've had to step away from doing formal astrological consultations for about the last year, because my work in the high school has been so all engrossing that I just have not had the time to be able to be doing astrological consultations. And so, as such, I haven't been spending as much time sort of keeping up with the flow of the planets and keeping my finger on things. However, I'm aware of some broader trends, which are currently happening, which is that coming up just in about a week or two, we'll have a significant planetary shift, which is that the shadowy planets Rahu and Ketu will take a transition from Aries and Libra, respectively, into Pisces and Virgo. And that's probably a whole lot of, jargon that might not be super meaningful to many of you. But what that basically comes down to saying is that will probably be a significant shift in many of our lives in how we are being drawn outwards into the world and where we are being encouraged to retire more inwardly, I would expect it to be a nice period of time for a lot of spiritual aspirants for about 18 months because Rahu in Pisces can be very expansive, especially if we take the opportunity to pray frequently and often to Divine Mother and really endeavor to be a channel of Divine Mother's grace to other people. Like I would advocate that if you want to take like a spiritual theme for the year of 2024 until like May of 2025, so about for the next 18 months, I would advocate let the theme be twofold. One, that God is center everywhere, circumference nowhere because Ketu in the constellation Virgo is very much a center everywhere sort of experience. It's very good at being extremely concentrated and focused and single pointed in its awareness. And we want to capitalize on that in the most positive spiritual way rather than becoming critical or detail oriented or nitpicky or critical. We want to become deeply centered in our own spines. That would be the higher aspect of that. So we want to be center everywhere. So you're centered everywhere. But then we also want to be circumference nowhere, which would be the Rahu in Pisces type experience. And so praying that your heart expand. And Pisces is not a mental sign as it is an emotional, it's a feeling sign. It's a sign of chitta. And so don't so much try to expand your understanding by reading the Encyclopedia Britannica, but try to expand your heart by chanting more. So I think this next year and change would be a great time to practice diving deep in meditation and thereby expanding your heart into infinity. That would be a wonderful visualization to take that as you go into the Sushumna, you're not becoming smaller, but you're actually expanding the heart outwards into infinity, this paradox of interiorization and simultaneous expansion. That would be a wonderful meditation to pursue. Then the other, like another wonderful thing that would be good to do at this time is chant often and study the scriptures because Ketu in Virgo is going to love study, and Pisces, Rahu in Pisces is going to do very well with devotion. And so if we sort of took that as a theme, like let's study and then let's sing, and let's balance together the intellect and concentration with self-forgetfulness and devotion and service to others, this would be a wonderful, wonderful practice. And then furthermore, another thing that we could concentrate on all as a community would be healing prayers for the world, because having Rahu in Pisces might make us feel very sympathetic for the sufferings of the world, but if we're not careful, that will simply make us more materialistic because it will make us think that we have to fix this material world in order for other people to be happy, in order for us to be able to be happy. But really, what we ought to do instead is say, Divine Mother, this world is a complete and utter mess, and that's just the way you made it. And so rather than try to fix the world, please help to bless these souls. Please help them to realize that the only path to overcoming suffering is in their own selves. So this would be a great time to become not so much a political activist, but like a spiritual activist. That would be the perfect way to ride this wave of energy for the next 18 months, I'd say. But yes, I've been looking forward to this transit for some time because it's particularly pertinent in my life and the lives of a number of my friends. So one thing about being an astrologer is you sort of, I feel like kind of like a mad scientist looking through like in a petri dish on his all of his friends. Like I keep waiting to see how these transits are going to affect their lives. So and the world. So we'll get to find out. But that's at least one simple way of how to approach it in a more spiritualized way. All right. So I see we have a big question here.
Yeah, I'm going to let you scan that and respond. This is from one of our dear devotees who lives over an hour away from us and tuning in online. So
Mm.
you
Okay.
respond.
How would I advise a child 11 years old in sixth grade? Okay. That was a good year for me to cope in a public school where his perception is that all of the teachers are trying to make everyone miserable. Golly, maybe you guys should move here to Palo Alto. We'll have a lot of fun. He spoke with me yesterday about specific concerns Um, including specific things teachers have said and done, which sound like the teachers are burned out and have poor attitudes. Yeah, they probably have both of those things. And also expressed fear regarding mass violence in schools and drills they do, which seem unhelpful and add more anxiety. Yeah, that's another thing that's pretty frightening, I suppose. I will speak to administration immediately, and I'm looking for solutions for him, including counseling. I've spoken with him extensively and told him the conversation is open and ongoing. With the current subject matter you bring, I wonder if you have something to add. No, no, not at all. Long question. That's a great question. Yeah, I really sympathize. Frankly, I think a lot of the public school system is an utter mess, and I don't say that so much because like I like to be critical, but I just because I actually don't like to be critical, really. Um, but it's if you just look at the fruits that it's bearing, it's not serving a lot of these children very well. And it's easy to blame teachers because they're the ones who are interacting with students. But let me tell you that it is unbelievable how many handcuffs are placed on teachers these days. And I'm so grateful that I teach in private sector. I would never teach in a public school. Just forget about it. There's no way. I would have been fired in my first like 4 days. And but they are really they're really stuck in a bind, and it's going to be a rare soul who has the magnetism and the power to be a really strong, uplifting influence in that environment. So I would really sympathize. The first thing I might tell the child is actually first off not to try and diminish their experience, but to acknowledge that what they might be experiencing might have some truth in it. Let's try and find some more objectivity. For example, they say they think that the teacher is trying to make everyone miserable. I think, if when we get a little calm, we might be able to help the student realize, well, I don't think they're trying to do that, but maybe that's what is happening. Yes. And so a few thoughts. One, one of the fastest ways out of suffering, regardless of your age, is to start thinking of how we can serve other people in any environment. And I've seen this work with children, and I've seen it work with adults, and I've seen it work for myself. And now I can't really give the exact anecdote here or example because I'd need to speak with this child and find the creative solution here. But, I might say, like, let's play a game. And maybe the game is, um, say, try and give one person a compliment a day in every single class. Notice something kind about someone else and tell them, oh, he's here. Oh, great. Okay. Well, so, okay, so here's my suggestion. So play a game. You can be like a detective. You can be like Sherlock Holmes. And so, but your job is to find out what is beautiful today, what is wonderful about a person today, what has someone done well, what has a teacher done well. And then your job is to point out to other people what is beautiful and good today. And all you have to do is find one. Now, that could be that someone chose a really cool pair of shoes. Hey, wow, cool pairs of shoes. Are those new? Or it could be someone chose an interesting shirt of a band that you like. Or it could be that the teacher is wearing an interesting bow tie. Or it could be that, they told a funny joke and afterwards you come and you tell the teacher, hey, that was a funny joke. I like that joke. Or even you could say, hey, that was a bad joke, but at least you tried. And what is interesting is if you play this game of trying to find out what is good, there's a magnificent and strange fact of life that whatever we concentrate on, we tend to build more of. And so if you help other people realize what's beautiful in the world, they'll start doing more of it. And so if you, for example, I promise you, try this. If you go tell your friend, hey, wow, that was so cool that you put together your outfit like that. I love whatever it is. Or, hey, that presentation you did on World War II, that was really great. People will try and do more of that. And soon you might be able to start turning your own school environment into something which you enjoy more thoroughly. Now, I'll also be really honest with you because you can hear me. This is to turn the whole environment around is going to be quite a heroic task. That's like Avengers level threat. You're going to have to become like, pick your favorite, Thor or something here, okay? And it's going to take some time. Now, but it'll start working actually. And here's another suggestion that you might try. And I know this is really scary, but I would encourage you to start thinking of yourself as everybody's friend. And think that even if they're not your friend, try and make the decision that you're going to be their friend. Even if that means you don't have to talk to everybody, you don't have to spend recess with everybody, but just try and be their friend. Try and support them, try and smile at them, try and do little kind gestures to everyone. And you'll find that actually pretty soon everyone will be your friend. And um, your teachers will love you, by the way, and your friends will love you. And yeah, I think these are a few suggestions. And of course, actually, hey, if you want to move to Palo Alto, we'd love to have you. You know, we have a great school here. We have a great sixth grade. And uh, yeah, I'd love to do a family workshop. That'd be fun. But, the other thing that I have to tell you, my friend, I don't know your name. You're in sixth grade, but actually, you don't know uh, Bowen. Anyway, I hope I say it, get it right eventually. Um, you don't actually realize how powerful you are. You might feel like you're just a kid and that all these adults are supposed to know what they're doing. Well, surprise, we don't all know what we're doing. And actually, you can influence your environment much more than you realize. And if you start trying to make friends and you just start every day trying to find those one or two beautiful things, give one compliment every single day. Actually, you'll get better at this until you'll be able to make many, and you will be able to change your environment. I promise you. I know it feels like it's impossible, but you really can. You really, really can. And I learned that when I was your age because I made the environment worse. And then I learned that I wanted to make it better. And there will be almost nothing more empowering for you if you start trying this out. Because if you realize that you can change your environment by putting out really good energy, that's a truth that you'll be able to take with you the rest of your life. So, also the other thing, Bowen, you can always reach out to me. You can write me or you can call me. Be happy to talk with you. And we can chat more if you want. I know I look like a big guy, but I'm actually just a little kid at heart. So I'm sure we'd get along together.
Thank you.
There
Hey,
he
the man
is.
himself.
Hi.
Thanks.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How do you say your name?
Bowen.
Bowen? Sweet. Cool. What kind of stuff do you like doing, Bowen?
I like drawing and playing video games.
Sweet. What's your video game of choice?
I don't know.
All right, all right. Yeah, jury's still out. That's cool. You'll figure it out. What do you like to draw?
Basically anything.
Basically anything. Do you like sketch? Do you doodle? Or like yeah, what do you do? Can you show me anything?
Um, I might have something. I don't know if I'm doing.
He's going to look, and I'm staying off camera because I've been sick and I'm not camera ready at all. But thank you so much.
Sure.
Missy, it's nice to hear your voice. It's so good to see Bowen. We have known Bowen since he's a little kid, and he's no more little kid. He's a
Yes, he's
young man. So thank
growing
you.
up.
Happening.
He's almost as tall as me.
Aw.
Just wait. That'll change.
Oh yeah,
He's gonna get bigger.
yes.
I can't find anything.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
So listen, if you like drawing, here's another simple suggestion. Maybe you make a quick drawing for someone every day. Just give it to them. Be like, hey,
Yep.
I made this for you. Hope you
Okay.
like it. Yeah, yeah, just give it a go. And like you can do it with your teachers too. And I think people will think that's really fun. And then you'll realize that you're in control and you're not so powerless after all. And you know what? The other last suggestion here for you, Bowen, is teachers teachers are actually just like you. We're just like a little taller and like losing some hair. That's all. And and what I mean by that is like if you go up after class and you tell your teacher if it was true, be like, "Hey, that was a fun class today. Thank you." Or like if you ask them like, "Hey, how was your weekend?" They'll start opening up to you a little bit. And here's one more suggestion, last suggestion, because this is what I learned when I was a student. I learned real quickly that sometimes you don't have to be a great student, you just have to look like a great student. Here's my like $1 million success tip for how to be a good student. Keep your eyes on the teacher. Try and make eye contact. Because if you're making eye contact with the teacher, then he'll think or she'll think that you're really interested and she'll give you more energy. And all of a sudden, there'll be this really fun friendship. It's like playing a game. That's what I notice when I'm teaching. I'm like, whoever's looking at me, it's game time. We're flowing. But when people aren't looking at me, then I gotta go. I literally, because in my school, I get to do crazy things. Like I literally go sit on my students. And I'll be like, why are you paying attention to me? So now your teachers probably can't come sit on you. So they're forced to do that. I know it's a bummer. Man, you'd have so much fun with us. Like one of our students, he didn't want to run. We were playing. And so my other teacher and I, we looked at him and we said, Ethan, as his name, we said, we're going to tackle you to the ground and we're coming for you. We're going to give you a 3 second head start. And he said, are you serious? And I said, one. And he said, you can't be two. And then he started running. And we were true to our words. We ran after that guy as hard as we could. And as it happens, I've never seen him run that fast in my entire life. So anyway, we had a lot of fun. And if you try and have fun with your teachers, here's another suggestion. Sorry, now you got me really going. Try and put a joke. Anytime you take a test, put a joke on the paper. Make your teacher laugh. See if you can start making it fun for them. And I promise everything's going to turn around for you. It's going to be great. Yeah. And let me know how it goes. I want to hear how it happens, okay? So I'm going to plunk my email and my phone number in the chat. And you can either hit me with a text message or on WhatsApp or an email, or you can send me a letter, whatever you want. And tell me how it goes, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool,
Also,
man.
I forgot about the drawing wall, so I actually
Oh.
can show you.
Oh my God.
They're like Pac-Man,
Okay. Yeah.
Here,
and there's a lot of other stuff.
a lot of
That's
things.
great. Look at Mario. Cool.
Mhm. So thank
Hey,
you
is that
so
a Pokemon? Is that like Blastoise down there? Wait.
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur. All right, I was almost there. All right. Cool,
Thank-
man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to meet you. When I come visit Texas again, let's do something.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All right.
you.
It is so cool, Bowen. Good to see you. Your hair's getting long. I love
Good
it.
to see you.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else before we let Keshava go off into the rest of his day? Anybody have any burning questions, comments, or just a hi? Open your camera and say hi.
Hey, Linda.
There's Linda. There's Eric.
Hey, Eric. That's a beautiful picture of Radha Krishna you have in the back there.
Yeah. Well, we just wanted to say we got to go, and so we're
Toodles.
happy to see you, and hoping to see you in Dallas sometime soon.
I would love that. Good to see you both.
Got to get him when he's not teaching. That means summer. So
That's
Yeah.
right.
we've already
Summertime.
narrowed it down. That's good.
Summertime in Texas. Let's go.
Oh boy, yeah, everybody loves it.
You are in Texas right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I feel it. No, it's very sweet. When I was meditating with you guys, I really felt for just a second like I was back in Texas with you guys in that beautiful center there. So, yes.
Well, and it's possible again. So we will hold that in the ether close nearby. So a lot of people are saying thank you in the chat box and
I see
everything.
it
And
too, yeah.
we do want to say goodbye. Carolyn, thank you for coming online. You are there. There she is. There's Carolyn, one of our Seva devotees for sure. But we have a way that we typically say goodbye to our guests. So everyone unmute yourself. You ready for this, Keshava? You have to unmute yourself, everybody, if we're going to say this together. So we say namaste,
Namaste.
Hey, y'all.
y'all.
Namaste, y'all.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thanks so much for having me, my friends. It was a real joy.